It's My Life with life coach Chaya Srivatsa, only on radiovala.in.
I heard about Surbhi Sharma, who's my guest today, from the Mount Carmel Alumni Association. In Bangalore, if you are a who's who among women, you are definitely a product of Mount Carmel College. Something about it which creates something about you. Surbhi Sharma is my first guest. So many firsts for her, okay? She is my first guest on this show as an alumni of Mount Carmel College. So we're going to start her journey from there. We may go back before that also during the conversation, but we're going to start with Mount Carmel College and Surbhi Sharma's association with it. So welcome, Surbhi, to It's My Life.
Thank you so much, Chaya. I'm really honored to be here and be your first guest on this, being from the alumni of Mount Carmel's and being a product of Mount Carmel's. I myself am very proud of the fact.
And let me tell you what Surbhi does apart from being an ex-Carmelite. She is the honorary consul for Spain. But before we get to how you got there, let's start your journey from maybe school and then college, then what happened. Okay?
Well, I was in Baldwin Girls High School from junior 1 to about 7th standard. When I left to Delhi for 4 years in a residential school because I had a sports scholarship. I was a swimmer, a national swimmer. Okay. And I was among the first lot that had got these scholarships. The Sports Authority of India had just about started these talent search contests. And I went to school then in a place near Delhi called the Motilal Nehru School of Sports.
Okay.
I came back after finishing my 10th grade. And since I had a CBSE, degree, I came back to Army High School here and did my 11th and 12th. And then, of course, since I was going to be in Bangalore, there was no other place to go but Mount Carmel.
So you did your
I did my BCom. Yes.
BCom.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the college. What was it like at that time? And it was in which year?
Well, I joined Mount Carmel's in 1992.
All right.
And at that time, of course, now, you see a big campus and you see many more buildings and things like that. There you had more space. You had a sense of space. Yes. Essentially, how the old Bangalore was and things like that.
That is growth. That is one of the prizes you pay for growth.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And the atmosphere of being part of this great institution, other girls, we had in our class, we had 100 children, and 2 sections, so 200 of us studying BCom. And being part of this, it was a matter of prestige. If you were in Bangalore,
you had to be
in Mount Carmel.
You talked about the space.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of my old teachers are still there. I think I last met them maybe 3 years ago. I've never wanted my connection with Mounts to stop. And, it's given me a lot, as it's given most Mount Carmelites,
Anything particular you would like to say about what it gave you? Because, okay, everybody says the college has given me a lot. They might talk about the friend group. They may talk about, the teachers, what they've come to. But there is something a particular college gives a person.
Right.
So would you like to pinpoint that?
Sure. I think, the co-curricular activities, for example, we weren't ever stopped from pursuing what we wanted to. I was a swimmer, I was a triathlete, and I needed to be out for camps, for competitions and things like that. And I was never questioned on my attendance for that. So they really let you grow. I mean, when you're talking about a class of 100 students, it's not that ezy to, you can
identify.
They don't need to have that attention on everyone and things like that. But I think our teachers did. I mean, we also bunked not just for co-curricular activities, but just, to be with friends and things like that. But our teachers knew, But, if you were a good student and if you did other activities as well and things like that, they were okay with it.
So their definition of a good student was somebody who was not just sticking her nose into her books, but who would do other things.
Yes.
Whether it's in culture, sports,
Yes.
NCC.
Right.
Isn't it?
Right.
Okay. So when you said you were a swimmer even when you were in college, did you also go for competitions?
Yes, I did.
Representing Mount
I
Carmel?
represented Mounts, at the university level, at the national level, yes.
And how good were you at your studies?
Well, I was among the first 5.
Okay, that's good.
So I don't think my mom and dad would agree with that, but yeah, they wanted it to be first 1 or 2. But
That's
yeah,
okay. That's a mom-dad thing.
true.
And being in the first 5 and representing your college in swimming, any other activities you participated in the college besides swimming?
Yes, I mean a lot of cultural activities. They gave so much emphasis on culture, on cultural activities, on debates, on inter college events and things like that. I participated in many of them. Yeah. It could be, debating, elocution, dance.
But when you say
that.
that, it's a big college with so many girls and everybody's like talented.
Right.
It is difficult to pick out. So do you volunteer yourself and go and tell your teacher, I want to participate in this, and then there is permission for doing it? Or do they identify? How does that happen?
You volunteer most of the time.
Yes, because it's not easy to
True.
pick out, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I think so. That's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, you were allowed to do what you wanted to, as long as you had adequate attendance, of course. And if you were doing these things, they really, they didn't mark you as absent because you were doing these other activities. Whereas I know in other colleges,
Oh, yes.
for a fact that they were very, very particular that you had to attend class 9 to 5 or 9 to 3. As the case may be.
More emphasis given to academics than the
Absolutely.
overall development.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why you see the difference between a Mount Carmelite and
Yes,
the
I
others.
think that's what many of this ex-Carmelites were saying at the alumni meet the other day, that they are what they are because of the many faceted exposure they got from the college.
Absolutely.
Next thing I want to ask you is, Surbhi, it's a women's college and it's run by, it's a Christian women's college.
Right.
Generally, there's a feeling that in Christian women's colleges, there is a lot of, very old-fashioned, and they, don't allow you to wear this or wear that. Is that so?
Okay, I'm going to talk about my times.
Yes, 92.
And 92 to 95, there were absolutely no restrictions in terms of, what you're going to wear. And, of course, you needed to be... how do I say that? I mean, they weren't particular about what you
There's
wore.
no code. There's no dress code.
Absolutely no code. But it was, what made a difference was how you were, how you'd behave in school and things like that. In college. So those are the things that were emphasized on, not on what you wore.
What you wore, okay. How you conduct yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any particular classes on behavior and...
Not that I remember.
No.
No.
Then did you all just do it because you came from homes which spoke about it at home, and you brought it to the college?
From home to school to, our school environments also played a very big role, right? And of course, you are supposed to maintain some kind of decorum. In a college, in an institution. And I think, Mount Carmelites did do that. You have exceptions everywhere and things like that. But I think on the whole, we were all proud to be Carmelites and, really lived up to its name.
So far, we were discussing about her journey in Mount Carmel College. Now let's go beyond the walls of the college into the world. So, Surbhi, after college, what did you do?
I really didn't know where I was headed.
There was no pressure from your parents कि आप भी ऐसे करो, तुम भी ऐसे GMAT दो. cat
No,
do?
not really.
No
Not
such
really.
pressures. Because quite often, am I right in saying that quite the parents also pressurize their children to do all this?
Sure. I'll tell you a short incident that happened at home when I was in the 11th grade. I was actually doing science in army school, and I was really busy with a lot of co-curricular activities, be it swimming and other things. And for swimming, we needed to be in camps for, a month plus and competitions all over India, etc., etc. I was also a synchronized swimmer. So, you had to go for demonstrations here, there, and the other. And I realized that, maybe this is not what I need to do. Maybe I don't need to do science.
Okay.
And I told my mom that. She said, okay, you want to go to commerce? Fine. Will your school allow you to? And I said, don't worry about that. I'll manage that part. When my dad heard it, he was livid. I mean, he was like, don't you ever tell me what you do in life anymore. I'm not going to ask you.
Was he angry about your...
Yeah, he wanted me to be a doctor, and I tried to...
So there was that parental expectation.
he expected... Yeah, he thought one of his kids would be a doctor. And I tried reasoning with him, saying that, I can't even see blood. Imagine me being a doctor. I'm not going to be a good doctor. He said, I don't want to listen to anything. Of course, that was short-lived. He was very proud of what I achieved and everything in life.
Yeah.
But that was a statement he made. And in 12th grade, when I stood second in school, he was, of course, a very proud daddy. Mm-hmm. But, so that kind of pressure was there then. But after that, no. Mm-hmm. I applied in different places for jobs. And I did get called in for all of them. Mm-hmm. I got into all of those jobs, and now I had a problem of deciding
which one.
What do I do?
What kind of job would that be for a commerce student?
Well, there were a lot of jobs in
banks,
in
mostly?
banks,
yeah,
in an advertising agency. Mm-hmm. I had an offer in another company that I finally joined. I worked for a day. And I realized this wasn't for me.
Not for you. Okay.
It just wasn't for me. And having said that, growing up, I come from a family of business people. I always used to tell my dad, I'm going to work for someone. Mm-hmm. And, the first day, and I came back home and said, Mom, I can't do this. And of course, I had the guy calling home, asking, when is Surbhi coming back? What is it? What happened? This and that. But I said, I'm not going back. I joined my dad's business for a week.
Okay.
And I decided that wasn't for me too. So a completely lost, confused soul.
I don't know if it's lost, confused, or you were checking the waters.
Yeah,
it's good, isn't it? So that when you hone into finally something,
I think
you're sure about
it. In
that.
hindsight, yes. In hindsight, yes. So I remember my middle sister, who'd just done her engineering, she was also working in my dad's company. Both of us were sitting there in the office, and I said, this is not for me, I have to get out of here. So, we used to build these dreams. We'll work on a coffee estate. We'll, do this, that, and the other, and things like that.
Why a coffee estate?
And it was just, the
ambience that you thought.
The ambience, us thinking about, young girls on bikes, doing all of this far away from Bangalore, and
oh my God.
it was silly dreams.
Do girls also dream about these things? I thought boys and bike, yeah. Girls too?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, she said, okay, so what's your passion? What do you want to do? And I said, I want to travel. Mm. She said, okay, so start a travel agency. I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. Let me do that. Sitting in my dad's office, So
you had the office there?
No.
A chair and a table there?
No.
There is another twist to it. Okay.
It was just in that moment that I turned the yellow pages and, called a few travel agencies saying that, I need to come and talk to you. I want to start a travel agency. I'm starting a travel agency. And, in the travel field, you need to be an IATA agent. Yeah, otherwise, you cannot issue tickets, right? Correct. So I had to be a sub-agent or something like that. And I went to this particular travel agency and spoke to the guy there, the general manager, and he was giving me such a sweet deal. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was trying to contain my excitement, saying, the credit terms were all, the commissions. At that time, the travel sector was very, very
Much
lucrative.
better, yeah.
And I came out and I was thrilled. I didn't need to go to another travel agency to, even talk about it and things like that. So here on one side, I'd sorted one problem of, how do I get my tickets issued and things like that. The other was getting clients. So
marketing.
Of course, right. And I was doing this on my own.
This was like you were working as an independent travel agent.
Yes. Okay. After that, I got my staff and everything. But, this is the first day, right? And, of course, I had to prove to my mom and dad, too, that I could do something. And, on my own, I've started off. So I need to do something before I, actually tell them all of this. So me and my sister, we designed my letterhead and, did all of that. And again, picked up, looked up the directory. Now I'm saying that, called someone and said, this is what I do. And the lady on the other side of the phone said, hey, yeah, you know what? We're planning to go to Phuket. And can you do my tickets for me and book me a hotel? And in
It was
December.
just on a cold call.
It was a cold call.
Okay.
Luck. Anyway, I did that. I was so excited. I'm like, okay, fine. Now let me get down to work. So, my journey started from there. Yellow Pages.
I'm so happy
the
that it started with the lady giving you the order.
Yes, it did.
Isn't it?
It did.
Normally it would be a man who's booking a ticket or something.
True.
Hey, we are moving ahead. Okay.
We sure are. So, well, that's the way my business started. Of course, then I had corporate clients and it was good. The business is really good. Like I told you, great terms from this other travel agency and things like that. But in 2 years' time, I realized that it wasn't me who was traveling. I was making the world travel. So the whole idea of starting it was based on the passion that I wanted to do all of that, And I got so caught up in this business. And so, I said, let me take a sabbatical. I traveled. I went to Europe, to the US, to Canada,
Just like that on your own.
On my own, looking for, what next. And, of course, we were going through at that time in 97, the technology boom was the talk of the town and here in the US, everywhere. And I decided to look at the tech space. I started the next company, which was into consulting for technology. Went there.
But you didn't have any tech background, right?
Well, I have a diploma, a master's diploma from AppTech.
Okay. At that time, AppTech and NIT were very popular,
right,
no?
Right. So I'd done that while I was doing college. I'd also done that course and things like that. Of course, I've never programmed in my life, but I understood technology, and I think when you're young, when you're ready to learn and absorb a lot happens then, So I said, okay, let me start this. Went on a trip focused on Europe. Everyone was looking at the US. I realized that, the opportunity, the difference, the USP would be Europe. And there started my journey in 1997 with Europe. And, well, the rest is history. Today I run a company that helps European organizations come into India to set up, not just in the technology space, but in other sectors as well. We do a lot of consulting work for them in different aspects of their business, advisory services. And, yeah.
You've now got a proper outfit.
Absolutely.
You have people working with you?
Yes. We're a team of about 18 people.
Okay.
And, one part of my business looks at promoting research and development, best-in-class research and development, I must say, between European organizations and Indian organizations in different technology spaces, IT, biotechnology, healthcare, transport systems, energy, environment, etc. And the other side, of course, focuses on advisory services, consulting, helping companies between Europe and India do business.
When you say do business, also bringing them and giving them business ideas, or they already have theirs and you facilitate their coming here? How
It
do you
really
do it?
depends on the client, on what they're looking out of the Indian market. Sometimes we do have clients who say, okay, I'm coming in here, I'm in this sector. For
So
example,
you do the background check for them, is it?
I'll just give you an example. For
Okay,
example, if
that's
there's a
nice.
client in the infrastructure sector, they could be in, say, roads, water, energy, solar energy, etc. It's for us to then guide them as to which areas to first focus on. What would be easier for them to come in. Finally, you want them to have a good experience.
Absolutely.
And once they have a foot in the door and they see the opportunity, then different services, different products, etc., could come into the market. So those kinds of activities, it could be that. It could be complete hand-holding of helping companies come in here, set up, find partners for them, establish partnerships, joint venture companies, for example. Help them look for business here, things like that.
Okay.
So it's really sometimes giving birth to many different companies in that sense, and then letting them.
How do
go
you
on their
know? How
own.
do you identify these companies? What's your source of information about them?
Chaya, I travel to Europe every 6 weeks.
All right.
So
And
it's,
then you
it's
go and
now,
knock on doors and talk about your business?
Honestly, no. What has happened is, all our business is word of mouth.
Okay.
We've got companies that have already had experiences with us. They talk to their friends, friends who are, again, maybe CEOs, chairmen of companies, owners of companies, small size companies, mid-size, large companies, etc. And then, they come to us asking us whether we could help them in a particular, opportunity.
So today's world, especially the business, taking the business forward kind of a thing, is largely dependent on networking and referrals?
Yes, I would say that. Yes. Well, like I said, we've never gone out there and marketed ourselves and things like that. It's been experiences that people have had with us.
And the deliveries, the deliverables and how they are done.
That's a given.
Yeah,
That's
that
a given. You have to be, keeping that as, we have to be efficient,
Yes.
well planned, organized, think from the client's side and all of that.
And the people who work with you, what is their background for them to be with you?
So we've got people from different backgrounds. I've got, doctoral PhDs. We've got masters in economics. Got people from who have MBA degrees. We have people who are pursuing their PhDs. People who've done their engineering.
Do they also travel like you, or do they
Yes,
do
they
their-
do. Yes, they do.
Okay.
I travel only when I, when I need to in
Finalize
terms
a
of-
deal or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
So sometimes, when you're heading a small company, which is mine, you needed to. They want to see the face of the company, and
Naturally.
you have to travel for those reasons. But otherwise, I've got a very efficient team. For example, the research and development team of ours is solely on the shoulders of another lady who runs the team. And I don't, I'm there in maybe weekly meetings, and that's about it. So to know what's happening.
Surbhi has so many things to share with us. She is a woman who has not stuck to the traditional, be an engineer or be a doctor kind of role, but has moved from those roles to, from a very basic role to into those roles. She hires PhDs and MBAs, but hasn't done any of that herself. You don't have to, isn't it, Surbhi?
I'm guilty. Yes.
No, why
I
should you
haven't
be
done
guilty?
That. Well, I would love to. I would have loved to pursue my masters and a PhD and things like that. But yeah, you're right.
See,
I
ultimately, why do people do all those things? Because they need to do something which will make a difference. But if you're making a difference without having done all that,
Right.
the purpose is achieved, right?
That's
You just
true.
now told me that your R&D is headed by a lady. Okay. Have you made a conscious attempt to have women on your team? Or is it just that they happen to be there?
Chaya, I must tell you that it wasn't a conscious effort in the beginning, but I found that women are more responsible. I'm sure I'm going to be, taken up for this by 50% of the world that are men.
No,
but
I don't know if it's so really, Surbhi. That was the idea earlier. But today, many women are as responsible or as irresponsible as men. Responsibility is not really gender-based.
I don't think it's gender-based, but in my firm, I mean, I do the hiring personally myself, the final, at least the final hiring, and I've always found that, and I'm speaking out of experience, experience, where they're multitaskers,
that to hai.
responsible in that sense. I mean, and 95% of my team now is women.
Okay.
And women in different stages of their life.
And they also travel.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that is difficult for women, mobility.
Yes.
Mainly because of family concerns and commitments.
I agree. I mean, in my office, we try and maintain a work-life balance.
Okay.
I try and be conscious about that. Of course, I need not follow it myself completely because, running your own business, like I said, has many more pressures to it and things, beyond the team you need to do. But work-life balance is absolutely important for me, for my colleagues. And, like I was saying, they're women in different stages of their lives. Some single, some just married, some who've had babies, who are just on the verge of having babies and things like that.
Okay.
And now I'll tell you about that point when I was talking about responsibility. They could have, for example, right now I have someone who's 7, which is in the 8th month pregnant and things like that. Already all the arrangements from her side have been made saying that, okay, now I'm going to take off when she takes off for the baby. She's only going to take off at that time. She's going to start working from home to deliver X, Y, and Z. So, those kinds of things come from them, from within, and of course, multitasking, running a family.
Yeah.
Having kids, looking at their schedules and being able to balance and manage all of that. I think is something that...
and I think technology helps in this a lot,
course.
Right?
Of course.
In fact, there have been many seminars and, I read about it, saying women in technology. Why do they make such a big hoo-ha about women in technology? Technology is technology.
True.
Isn't it?
True.
How you use it.
Yeah.
It depends on you.
Absolutely.
And since women are multitaskers,
right,
they can make extra use of technology.
Right.
Isn't it?
That's
so
true.
there is an option of working out of home.
Yes.
And they don't really have to say, oh, I've got kids, I can't manage.
Correct.
Those are excuses, right?
I would say that. I have people working right now from home as well for different reasons. And what is important for our company is that they deliver.
Okay.
So if they deliver, they can be on Skype calls, they can be anywhere in the world, but they need to deliver. And if that happens, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
How did you end up as being the honorary consul for Spain? How did that come about?
I think, Chaya, that really kind of fell in my lap. Like I was saying, I've been working with European companies since the end of 1997, and a lot of my work comes from Spain.
Okay.
Really because, that trip that I had gone to Europe, I'd spent time in Spain, in Brussels, in Italy, and other parts of the world, but I made of Europe. But I made the best of friends in Spain.
Okay.
And
do you speak the language?
A bit.
Okay. But they know English?
Well, I mean, finally, the language of business is universal.
Okay.
So even if you don't speak languages, the language, you end up doing business.
That's good. Okay.
And that's the important part. And yeah, so I used to work with a lot of Spanish companies as well. And when the embassy wanted to open an office here, the ambassador asked me whether I would take this role up. And, it was an honor. And I said, I of course accepted. And well, I was doing all of this in terms of looking at their relations between Spain and India for a long time. maybe for selfish business reasons as well, but I was. So, the additional title, of course, was.
What does it entail? What do you have to do as consul?
Well, as a consul, you need to, look at the interests of the country you represent, Spain in my case.
Vis-a-vis the country here.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Their citizens who in the territory, look after, political delegations that may come in, look into trade and development and things like that. Visibility of the country.
Do you have an office from where you operate here?
My office doubles up as
Okay.
the Honorary Consul as well.
Okay. And also those who are stranded or have any problems here,
Yes.
they can come to you.
Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. But you don't handle the visas and things like that.
Just the visas is something that I don't handle, but everything else, I've got a very efficient secretary who looks after most of it. But yeah, when you have cases where someone is in hospital, in prison,
Oh, that happens too?
murdered, things like that. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Only when you get into that world you realize, oh my God, there's so much
You
more.
mean they come
that
from Spain and
happens.
get into all these things here?
They could be in hospital.
No, hospital is okay. But prison, I think.
No, it could be for different reasons. I
Okay.
mean, it's not. It doesn't mean that the
Crime.
person
It
is.
could
Yeah,
be.
it needn't be crime. It could be, overlooking your some
Stay
registration that you've
some-
overlooked.
okay.
Something very small.
Bureaucratic
in
stuff.
that sense. Yeah.
So you intervene and then look
Yes.
into it.
Yes.
Are there many people from Spain here, either as expats or
Yeah.
employees here?
In Bangalore, you have about say 50 to 60 people.
Okay.
From Spain, and in this region you have many more. In Anantapur, the biggest NGO of India, RDT, the Rural Trust RDT, Rural Development Trust, sorry, which was started by Father Vicente Ferrer, is based. So you have
Okay.
thousands of Spaniards coming every year. So that also comes under my
Your purview.
jurisdiction in
Okay.
that sense.
So all over India. It's not just Bangalore.
No, it is actually for Karnataka, Anantapur, although it is in Andhra,
Pradesh,
the proximity to Bangalore means a lot more.
Does it entail also you're attending a lot of diplomatic, parties and things like that?
So the diplomatic community in Bangalore is rather small. We have, I think, 6 career consuls here and 16 honorary consuls. So, yes, it does mean that, there are more events to attend and things like that, which in one way is good because, Bangalore has always been a cosmopolitan city, but it adds the international flavor to it. And, networking with all of us networking together, we look at, other international strategies and ways of bringing business, cultural events, etc. down here.
So it kind of blends with your core business too.
It does. Yes, it does. So there's a fine line between the consul work that I do and my own business because I my main business has been consulting and bringing these companies down, and then in this role too I have to look at creating better opportunities, visibility, etc. for Spanish companies here.
Okay. So what is it that makes Surbhi do all these things? What gives you the skill, the talent, the guts, the risk-taking, whatever that goes into it? What is it that gives you all this?
I won't say I was born with it, but I think it's the journey that I've been through in life. Being born to my parents, the encouragement that started at home. My mother, for example, made sure before I took up swimming, to the extent that I did. We tried every other sport, horse riding, gymnastics, and everything possible, skating, all of that, and then then we zeroed down on swimming and took that forward. That life then, once you're a swimmer and you're swimming 5 to 6 hours a day for competitive swimming, because I was a national level swimmer, you have only that much time to do your homework, to do your academic work, So that changes you have to be able to focus better. So concentration increases.
If more and more parents listen to this show, perhaps, and say, here is a BCom student who didn't do MBA, who didn't go for, GRE, TOEFL and things like that, who's running a business, bringing business from Europe to India and vice versa, who's a consul general for Spain. Who would have thought a BCom student would have done all that? Isn't it, Surbhi?
I tend to agree with you.
Yes?
Yes.
I mean, this is just a way of saying that it's not the degrees that matter.
I would agree with you.
It's not the premier college tags that matter. What matters is your passion, your drive, your risk-taking ability,
True.
your entrepreneurial, and above all that, parental blessings.
True.
Agree?
Very well said, Chaya. I agree.
If they can dream along with you and
That's the best situation.
sanction your dreams,
True.
and be there for you.
Absolutely. Right.
And if it doesn't work out, they shouldn't say, I told you so.
Exactly.
If it doesn't work out, all right, come home, think of something else.
Yeah. Supportive parents.
Supportive
Yes.
parents. So today, if one wants to succeed really in anything, it's so important for teachers, their role they play, the college,
Right.
the role it plays in helping you mold yourself.
True.
Then it comes to your own initiative. In one nutshell, what do you think about today's young?
I think...
Do
okay,
they
so-
have all these qualities?
So the youngsters that I've seen really are go-getters. They know what they want, and they look for ways to getting it. As I said, there are always exceptions, and
Yeah,
but generalizing it, I would say they've seen the world much more than we had in our times.
Correct. If you're
Be
saying it,
the
you can
internet
imagine.
And really, I mean, I see that with youngsters who come to my office for a job and things like that. They know what they want and they speak their mind, which is so much better. They're not the unsure children that our generation on the whole was. Yeah.
I would say that you are a great beacon for them.